Hello and welcome back to art class. Today we're going to be working with an issue of something called foreshortening. Foreshortening is a kind of perspective. If you think back to last year when you made a picture that looked like it was 3D, basically last year in fourth grade you might have done it where you made a room or you made some shapes that look 3D. I know in second grade we do an exploding shape project. There's just different ways to do it. A lot of people might make a road with a house on it or a barn, just different ways. What we're going to do is we're going to use that idea of perspective on people, and it gets a special name called foreshortening because it's where an object is closer to you, looks bigger. Well, if somebody's sticking their hand close to your face, that hand is going to look abnormally large because it's so close to your face. So you can even try it on yourself where you stick your hand in front of your face and suddenly your hand is bigger than everything else in the world. That's only because it's right next to your eyeball. That's the issue of foreshortening, that some things up close will look a lot bigger and things that are further away have a tendency to look smaller. In order to do this project though, we're going to need a big piece of paper. So what you're actually going to need is a few items. You are going to need, for this first part, you're going to need 4 pieces of white paper. You're going to need a pencil, your eraser, you're going to need a glue bottle, and you need a pretty clean pair of shoes. The treads need to be clean. The top doesn't need to be super neat, but the treads should be kind of clean. So don't bring in super muddy or dirty shoes. You can probably, and it doesn't really matter what kind of shoe they are, but probably a good pair of tennis shoes will give you the best result. All right, I'm going to set the shoes off to the side. We're going to focus on the piece of paper first. All right, so this is going to be an extremely large piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is this. I need to glue, put 2 of these off to the side. I need to glue these 2 pieces together first. So that's what we're going to do. Take the glue bottle, put a few dots right on the edge, close the glue bottle, and then use the tip to spread it out so it's as thin as possible so that you don't get any bubbly parts that try to stick up or ruin the paper or your drawing as you're trying to go. So you want to thin it out with the nozzle as best you can. Good. Okay. Then you're going to do the same thing for these 2 pieces. Okay, then what we need to do is actually put these 2 new pieces together, doing the same thing. I'm going to turn them this way. I'm going to have an easier time getting them to overlap. Now, if you happen to have a giant white piece of paper that's about this size, you're more than welcome to use that instead. But most of us don't have something that big, so we kind of have to create our own. Okay, so now we have this giant piece of paper. We're going to want to let it sit. I'm going to rub this a little bit and let it sit for probably about 15-20 minutes, just to let that glue really dry really well, because we really don't want to, when we're drawing or anything like that, don't want it to damage the picture at all. So be back in just a minute, let it dry. And we're back. Okay, so our next step is we're going to be drawing the things that are close to us. So in our picture, it's going to be our shoes are going to be the objects close to us. So we're going to use those. And I need them to be basically almost centered on each of the pieces of paper. So one centered on this piece, one centered on this piece. And you want them to be close, but not actually touching the edge. So maybe within a finger space or 2. So like you could stick your finger. You can see I stick my finger here, and I'm actually straight down touching the paper. Okay. You don't want it exactly touching the bottom, but you want it really, really close. Okay. Then you're just going to take your pencil, and you're going to trace them. try to do your best at tracing. I know your pencil's going to want to get stuck. At some point, you may have to tilt your pencil to go underneath a little bit. Like me, I have to tilt a little bit to get some of that underside because the shoe. All right, so let's deal with the shoe first. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna outline this a little bit more so you can see it. All right, next. It's a good idea to look at the underside of the shoes. You're looking at the treads, okay? And with the treads, some of them are worn away. I mean, if you have shoes that have been well used, your tread may be a little bit hard to see. You will need to decide, do you want to do the tread of your shoe that truly exists? So this shoe has this tread, so do I want to draw this? Do I want to come up with one completely on my own? Or do I want to grab another shoe that I own or somebody owns and do some treads from there? The other thing that some people like to do is mix and match. So they like part of the tread from one shoe, and then they'll get another piece of a tread from the other to fill in the rest of the space. So you can kind of mix and match treads. The trick is, whatever you do to one shoe, you need to make sure it's a mirror image on the other. Let me give you an example. So if I decide I have this shape here on this shoe, that same shape needs to appear in almost exactly the same spot here. Okay. If I put a circle like right here, then a circle needs to appear here. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to create my treads. I'm going to make sure they match. You do not need to do any shading right now. I just want it drawn. Okay. In your head, you can plan out for shading, but we're also going to have the ability to do color. So some treads have actual color down there, so you'll need to be planning in your head what colors and things like that. But right now, we're only drawing. Okay, now we got the treads of our shoe done. The next thing I want us to do, and the last thing we're going to do for this week, is we actually need to trace our hands. Our hands are going to go up here towards the top of the paper. Your hands actually will fit better than mine because your hands, most of you will have hands that are a little bit smaller than mine, but mine I'll just kind of squeeze in here, and you're just going to trace them. So just trace the all the way up to your palm. So down here to where your wrist is, that's where you'll need to trace. You can have your hands spread out really good, or you can kind of close in your thumb a little bit, but you need some space between your fingers. All right, and the way this is going to be is that your hands are like you're falling down on top of a glass plate and we're looking through, and this is you doing that. So you need to draw the palm of your hand. Now what's weird is, yes, my right hand was over here, but I need to draw my palm on this side because if you look, now my hand matches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in just a few of the lines. So that I can have that kind of realistic look. And then you may want to watch out for the big crisscrosses there. Each person's hand is going to be slightly different than the other person because your skin doesn't match always with everybody else's. Okay, this is where you need to be. So you have your shoe traced, you draw your own tread. The treads need to match. Do not worry about coloring in at this time. Then you're gonna draw or trace your hands, and then you're gonna draw the main lines in your hands. Do you need to draw every single line that's on your hand? Absolutely not. Do you need to draw the fingerprints on your hand? No. I just need the basics so that it looks like your hand if someone was looking at it, okay? And I will see you next week to do the next part, which is to draw the body.